Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Police say there are 0 applications to hold a June 4th vigil in Victoria Park. Former lawmaker Ted Hui has been convicted in absentia for contempt of court. And Shanghai's long lockdown is over, but residents are up in arms over regular COVID tests. Police have warned people that they may breach the law even if they go to Victoria Park alone, but join others to express certain views. This came as no organization expressed an interest this year to mark the anniversary of the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. Isaac Lee reports.
Police confirmed this afternoon that they have not received a single application to hold a gathering at Victoria Park, where a candlelight vigil was held every June 4th until 2020. But officers are worried about illegal assemblies after identifying some online promotions. Senior Superintendent Liu Ka referred to court rulings to warn people that they may fall foul of the law, even if they go to Victoria Park alone on June the 4th. Because being in the same place with others for a common purpose could be regarded as joining an assembly. He did not respond directly when asked if police will seal off Victoria Park, like they did last year.
I must say that whatever our police actions is going to take, that including the police presence in the vicinities, as well as doing some control measure at the Victoria Park, all our objective is back to the basic, is to maintain public order and public safety. And also, if we could prevent the unlawful, unauthorized assembly from happening, it will be the best approach instead of making arrests or making a strict enforcement action.
Liu refused to say how many officers will be deployed on Saturday. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
The civil service chief has agreed with suggestions from lawmakers to introduce an effective reward and punishment system. This came as the Legislative Council approved a motion calling for a more efficient civil service. Joanna Ho reports.
Lawmakers suggested a reward and punishment system, saying the current performance evaluation mechanism is not stringent enough to weed out civil servants who want cushy jobs. Lawmaker Yeung said a former colleague who became a civil servant was accused by his superior of being too hardworking. He claimed that under the current system, civil servants are not keen to perform well, as they can be promoted and get pay rises according to seniority. Yeung proposed a performance-based pay system. Fellow lawmaker Connie Lam said the current mechanism cultivates an unhealthy culture, with civil servants trying to do less to avoid making mistakes. She suggested rewarding those in the top 10% for good performance with bonuses, while those in the bottom 10% should be issued with warning letters. Lam said those who receive 2 warning letters should be sacked or have their salaries frozen. Civil Service Chief Patrick Nip agreed that the management system should advance with the times. But he said civil servants are promoted through a fair procedure, and 51 people were sacked for violating rules in the past financial year. Nip pledged to improve the performance evaluation system so that civil servants work harder. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Former opposition lawmaker Ted Hui, who has fled to Australia, has been convicted in absentia for contempt of court. This came after he lied for a chance to leave Hong Kong when facing 4 charges. Isaac Lee reports.
Before fleeing Hong Kong 2 years ago, Democratic Party lawmaker Ted Hui had been accused of perverting the course of justice by asking a man to delete footage of an anti-government protest in 2019. Hui also faced 3 charges for disrupting Legislative Council meetings in 2020. During one session, he threw a rotting plant into the chamber. He applied for bail that same year, and the court approved a visit to Denmark for work-related purposes. But Hui later revealed in an online post that his true purpose was to abscond after arriving in Denmark. He also admitted providing false itineraries to mislead police. This prompted the Department of Justice to charge him with 4 counts of contempt of court. High Court Judge Andrew Chan said Hui's actions were calculated to impede the administration of justice. Chan added that Hui's deception and abscondment risks undermining public confidence in the judiciary. The former lawmaker was found guilty of all 4 contempt of court charges and will be sentenced at a later date. In a post on Facebook, Hui claimed the verdicts indicated that Hong Kong's judicial system no longer protected human rights. He refused to respect the court and accused judges of being no longer bound to the rule of law. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
A third bar in Central has been identified as the source of another COVID cluster. 18 infections were linked to LINQ, a bar on Pottinger Street. Those who contracted the virus went there last Friday and Saturday. The Central nightclub cluster, meanwhile, has 2 more cases, taking the tally to 51. And another 2 infections took the Iron Ferry bar cluster to 33. Meanwhile, 5 students and a teacher became infected after attending a jazz dance class at Holy Trinity College in Shek Kip Mei on Sunday. Hong Kong today added 489 new COVID infections, including 65 imported cases. Health officials again warned people against making false self-test reports. Of the 150 rapid antigen test results reported on Monday, 31 were found to be negative after PCR tests. After enduring 2 months of a strict lockdown, people in Shanghai now have to take regular COVID tests. Results have to be updated every 72 hours before they can go to work or shop. Chloe Feng reports.
As Shanghai gradually resumes its vibrancy after a 2-month lockdown was lifted yesterday, residents of China's biggest city face a new challenge. They have to take PCR tests within 72 hours of going to work, shop, or travel. 15,000 testing booths have been set up, and people began lining up from the early hours of this morning. One resident complained on Weibo that he had to wait for 2 hours, even though he arrived at 3 a.m., and asked how was he expected to work after that. A woman posting on the same website noted that she did not have easy access to food during the lockdown. Now she has the same problem with tests. Many urged the authorities to ramp up testing services and set up more sites for the city's 25 million residents. The tests are free this month, but there's no indication if the situation will change later on. Similar measures have been rolled out in other cities, including Beijing, Zhengzhou, and Hangzhou, affecting 420 million people. In Zhengzhou, where people have to update their PCR results every 48 hours, the high cost of testing stations at 40,000 yuan each invited scrutiny. It's estimated that tests will eat up almost 10% of Henan province's annual revenue. But China's zero-COVID strategy received a boost with only 61 new infections, the 3rd straight day with cases in double digits. Beijing recorded 14 infections and Shanghai 13. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
At least 4 people have been killed and 41 injured in 2 earthquakes that rattled the southwestern province of Sichuan. Students in Lushan County screamed in panic and hid under their desks when their building started trembling. State media said the first tremor with a 6.1 magnitude rocked a sparsely populated area in Ya'an City at 5 p.m. yesterday. 3 minutes later, a 4.5 magnitude quake hit a nearby county with about 100 kilometers west of the provincial capital, Chengdu. Overseas, There's been another mass shooting in the United States, this time in a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A gunman killed 4 people before shooting himself.
There was a 3-minute response, so I don't know how long the call took to come in, but it appears as though the whole thing was a 4-minute or so time span from the time it came in to the time officers made contact, 4 to 5 minutes.
A number of people in St. Francis Hospital were wounded by the assailant, who was armed with a rifle and a handgun. The motive for the attack isn't yet known. In the Texan town of Uvalde, meanwhile, another child was buried following last week's school massacre. 10-year-old Jose Flores was killed, along with 18 classmates and 2 teachers. It took police in Uvalde more than an hour to confront the teenage gunman and shoot him. Town Gas has proposed to raise tariffs for the first time in 3 years. The company plans to increase its basic tariff by 1.15 cents per megajoule from August. That amounts to a 4.4% increase. The utility firm estimated 70% of residential households will pay no more than $10 extra each month, while half of its commercial users will have to fork out an extra $290. It cited rising materials costs and staff expenses for the application, which will be vetted by the government. The Hang Seng Index dropped 1% today as investors prepared for a 3-day weekend, starting with the Dragon Boat Festival tomorrow. The focus was on Meituan, which lost 1.3%. After the market closed, the mainland food delivery platform giant said first quarter revenue surged 25% from a year ago to 46 billion yuan. COVID restrictions led to higher demand for food and grocery deliveries. Meituan reported a quarterly loss of 5.7 billion yuan. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng ended the day down 212 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent lost $1.40, Meituan lost $2.30, while Alibaba was down $2.30. JD.com lost $2.80, while AIA was down 80 cents. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro's at 8.39, pound sterling at 9.85, while the Australian dollar at 5.65. Over in Europe, the London FTSE is closed today because of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. On to the weather now. A bleak start to the long weekend. It will be hot with showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures will range between 27 and 31 degrees. Hot and sunny with some rain on Saturday and Sunday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Thursday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Good evening.